Tonight, you might lie down next to someone. Maybe someone you've loved for years. Maybe someone whose name you only learned this evening. Maybe no one at all. Just a glowing rectangle of faces you'll swipe through and forget by morning. Whatever it is, it feels like the most personal thing you do. The most private. The most you. But here is a number worth sitting with. We now spend more time than any humans in history searching for partners on screens. And Americans report having sex roughly 20% less often than they did in the early 1990s. We have more access to each other than any people who have ever lived, and we are touching each other less. So here is a question almost nobody thinks to ask. The body you'll lie down in tonight is 300,000 years old. Did it always do this? Did your ancestors want, court, and couple the way you do? The answer is stranger than you'd think, and it's written in your own anatomy. Let's start with the body itself, because your body is a document. It records the mating history of your species, whether you want it to or not. Compare 3 living apes. A male gorilla weighs nearly twice as much as a female, dominates a harem of several females, and carries testes the size of kidney beans, about 0.02% of his body weight. A male chimpanzee is only slightly larger than a female, lives in a group where one female may mate with many males in a single day, and carries enormous testes, roughly 0.3% of his body weight, producing a flood of sperm to compete inside the female after rival males. Now look at yourself. A human man is about 15% larger than a human woman. His testes, relative to his body, sit almost exactly in the middle, far smaller than a chimp's, far larger than a gorilla's. Your anatomy is a compromise. It is the body of a species that is neither a harem keeper nor a free-for-all. It is the body of an animal that mostly, imperfectly, pairs. And that single fact took millions of years to build. To understand how we got here, go back to 1981. An anatomist named C. Owen Lovejoy at Kent State University published a paper in the journal Science that reframed the entire question of human origins. His subject wasn't sex, it was walking. For decades, the textbook story was that we stood upright to free our hands for tools or to see over tall grass. Lovejoy proposed something else. He argued that bipedalism evolved because it freed the hands to carry. And what early hominins carried, he suggested, was food, brought back to a mate. Here is the logic. Human infants are helplessly dependent for years, far longer than any other ape. A mother alone cannot gather enough to keep herself and a slow-growing child alive. But if a male provisions her, if he brings food back to one female and her offspring reliably over time, both survive, and his children survive with them. That arrangement only works if the male has reason to believe the children are his. And so, Lovejoy argued, pair bonding, food sharing, upright walking, and hidden fertility may all have evolved together as a single package more than 4 million years ago. The first thing that made us human might not have been the tool. It might have been the couple. But a pair bond is not just an arrangement. It's a feeling. And that feeling has a fingerprint inside the brain. In 2005, an anthropologist named Helen Fisher, working with colleagues at Rutgers and Stony Brook, slid people who had just fallen in love into a brain scanner and showed them photographs of the person they were obsessed with. Their brains lit up in a specific place, the ventral tegmental area, a primitive cluster deep in the brain that floods the system with dopamine, the same region that drives hunger, thirst, the craving for a drug. Romantic love, Fisher concluded, is not an emotion in the way happiness is an emotion. It is a drive, a motivation system as old and as urgent as the need to eat. And here's the part nobody talks about. Fisher mapped 3 separate systems: raw lust, romantic obsession, and the calm, deep attachment of long bonds, and found they run on different chemistry and can fire independently. You can feel all three for one person, or each for a different person. Your ancestors carried the exact same three systems, pulling them in the exact same competing directions 100,000 years before anyone wrote a poem about it. So what does the human pattern actually look like? Strip away the culture and four signatures remain. Four things that mark your species as strange among mammals. Concealment. Almost every female mammal advertises fertility. A swelling, a scent, a color. Human ovulation is hidden, even from the woman herself. No one knows the fertile day by looking. This may be the most consequential sexual trait we have, because it makes a single mating unreliable and makes staying close over weeks, the only way to reproduce with confidence. Constancy. Most animals mate in a season. Humans have no mating season. Desire runs year-round, uncoupled from fertility, available as a tool for bonding rather than only for breeding. The missing bone. Most male mammals, gorillas, chimps, cats, dogs, have a bone in the penis called the baculum. Human males lost it. The leading theory? When matings are brief and competitive, the bone helps. When matings are long and tied to a stable bond, it became unnecessary, and selection let it go. Privacy. Humans, almost uniquely, seek seclusion to mate. Across nearly every culture ever studied, couples withdraw. Anthropologists have long argued this hiding evolved to protect the pair bond, to keep one relationship from igniting the jealousy of the whole group. Concealment, constancy, a lost bone, the instinct to hide. Four marks of an animal built to bond, and to guard that bond fiercely. And for almost the entire human story, that bond formed inside a world that no longer exists. Then, something changed. Agriculture took the band of 30 and replaced it with a household and the field. Property took the loose, negotiated partnership and locked it into ownership, inheritance, contract. The city took the lifelong neighbors who watched a couple form and scattered them into strangers. The screen took the slow ripening of attraction, the months of proximity, of shared danger, of being known, and compressed it into a photograph judged in under a second. For 300,000 years, you would have known almost everyone you might ever mate with. You'd have watched them grow up. They'd have watched you. Choosing meant choosing from a few dozen faces inside a group that would hold the bond together whether it stayed easy or not. Now you can summon 10,000 strangers to a screen before breakfast. More choice than any ancestor could have dreamed of, and a loneliness they would not have had a word for. The wanting is identical. Only the world it reaches into has changed. The pivot. So what do we do with a body built for a world that's gone? Here's what the science actually suggests. The three systems Fisher mapped, lust, romance, attachment, were never meant to stay at full volume forever. The dopamine fever of new love is, biologically, a launch sequence. It is built to burn for months to a couple of years, just long enough to bond two people through the most dangerous, sleepless period of raising a small child. Then it's meant to cool. Not into nothing, but into the quieter attachment system, the one that releases oxytocin at a touch and can last a lifetime. The modern mistake is to read that cooling as failure, to chase the fever again with someone new, then again, mistaking the launch sequence for the destination. Your ancestors had no illusion about this. The bond was not a feeling they waited to arrive. It was a thing two people built, slowly, inside a group that expected it to last. And the feeling followed the building, not the other way around. So go back to tonight, the bed, the person beside you, or the glowing screen of faces, or the empty half of the mattress. The wanting you feel is not new. It is not modern. It is older than language, older than fire, older than the first word ever spoken for love. The same dopamine that will pull you toward someone tonight pulled a body exactly like yours toward another body 200,000 years ago, under a sky with no electric light, inside a circle of people who would know within days that the two of you had chosen each other. They wanted what you want, to be chosen, to be kept, to matter to one specific person in a world that is mostly indifferent. The difference is not in the body. The body is unchanged. The difference is that they reached for each other across a few feet of firelit ground, into the arms of someone they would see every day for the rest of their lives. And you reach across a screen, into a sea of strangers, hoping one of them stays.